Welcome to Elixir Mixers, where we brew up bets together. This is our first show. I decided to jump on here and start giving out my picks for free because I've been betting over the last couple of years and realized that I'm pretty good at it. So I decided to just share those bets if anyone else wants to tail. I am not a professional gambler, and this is definitely not financial advice. Nobody is hitting submit on those bets besides you, so make sure that that is who you blame when things don't go well. I lose all the time, like every other gambler does, and I also win a lot. So hopefully we can help each other to beat the books. That is the point of all of this. Today we are going to look through the schedules of the NFC North and see if there's any bets we can make long term for the win totals or any of the division bets that are out there. One thing to keep in mind when making these season-long bets is that you're obviously tying up your money for a long period of time, at least 6 months if you wait until the start of the season. So keep that in mind. Bet small on making these season-long bets or bet really long odds so that it's worth it to tie your money up for that long. Right now, obviously, all we have to bet on is MLB and some WNBA, maybe a couple of MMA or soccer here and there. So I don't mind tying up my money, a little bit of my money long term on some of these bets. We're going to answer the question on the thumbnail. Will the Bears be last in their division again this year? Let's find out. So in 2024, the Lions truly were the king of the jungle. They won 15 of their 17 games, and they completely obliterated their division with a full sweep. They beat the Vikings twice, they beat the Packers twice, and they beat the Bears twice. They dropped 40 points 6 separate times, including one loss. One of their 2 losses. That was a 40-point game, 40-plus point game for them. And they dropped 50 points twice as well. Last year, they played almost all of their games indoors. This year, and they had some easy matchups. This year, it's not going to be so easy for the Lions. The Lions have 11 games against former playoff teams from 2024. That is including their 2 games against the Packers and their 2 games against the Vikings. Now, as we jump into these win totals, I don't want you grumbling about where exactly I put the wins and losses. I'm not trying to figure out exactly which games are going to be won and lost. Our goal here is to determine an average or like a win total idea of how many they'll win or lose, not exactly who they will win or lose against. We'll figure that out on a week-to-week basis once the season gets started. So, for example, in 2024, the Lions swept their division, which is incredibly hard to do. The likelihood of them doing that again is slim, although not impossible. And so I'm going to give them 2 division losses this year out of the 6. And it doesn't matter where I put them, but I'm going to go ahead and put one on the Packers and one on the Bears just for fun, since people are high on those teams this year and seem to be low on the Vikings this year for some reason. So you can see that on the screen. I've got the 4 wins and then the 2 losses. The Browns and the Giants should be easy layups for a team like the Lions. So I'm going to go ahead and give the Lions a win against the Giants and the Browns. I'm also going to give them a win against the Cowboys and the Steelers, who played pretty mid last year and will probably play pretty mid again this year. So you can see that there. And then we have the remaining 7 teams. They're all playoff teams from last year, and 3 of them have beaten the Lions in recent years. So to be on the safe side, I'm going to give the Lions 4 losses and 3 wins out of those playoff teams. So here is what we arrive at. This gives the Lions a pretty solid floor of 10 because I think they could win more of those games. So their ceiling is more like 13. If they manage to sweep their division again, they could pick up a few extra wins. Maybe they win a playoff team against the Bengals or some other playoff team from last year that doesn't do as well. The Vegas line is set to 10.5. Normally, I would not like to bet win totals that are so close to the Vegas line, but in this case, I am going to bet it because I managed to find it at plus money. So, if this was minus 110, minus 120, I would not be making this bet, but I couldn't pass it up at plus money, which is probably what Vegas was hoping for. They wanted to get people to bet this side, and it worked for me. So moving on to the Packers. The Packers had an amazing season despite only getting 1 division win last year and not having their starting quarterback for a couple of those games. The only non-division loss that the Packers had last year was to the Super Bowl champion Eagles in Week 1 in that crazy Brazil game. All their other losses were division losses. This year, I'm going to allow for another Lions sweep, but I'm going to have the Pack trading with the Vikings and the Bears so that they end up with 2 division wins instead of 1. I think that's fair. I think they could do even better than that. I'm also going to give them the easy wins against the Giants, the Panthers, the Browns, and the Cardinals. So now we have 5 playoff teams from last year, plus the Cowboys and the Steelers. Of those 7 games, we can give the Packers 4 losses and 3 wins just to be on the safe side. So this puts the Packers at 7 to 11 wins of a range, but I have it at 9. I think it's possible the Packers could lose 2 more games and could win up to 2 more games. So that's why we have that 7 to 11 range. The Vegas line is 9.5, which is right in the middle of that range. So for me, this is a win total bet that I am going to stay away from. For the Vikings, we don't know what to expect out of the Minnesota Vikings this year because J.J. McCarthy has not played an NFL game. Will he be, the Jaden Daniels we had last year, or would he be average, or is he going to play like Caleb Williams did? I guess we'll find out. One thing we know for sure is that Minnesota has an incredible team. They have a functioning O-line, and they have great defensive play. Justin Jefferson has also proven that he can play with just about anybody, any quarterback over the last few years, including some pretty terrible ones. Last year, the Vikings swept the Packers and the Bears and only got swept by the Lions, so they had 4 division wins. This year, I'm only giving them 2, just in case J.J. McCarthy is a bust. So there's a big question mark at quarterback. I'm going to chalk the Vikings up for 5 losses against the 5 remaining playoff teams. I think they could win 2 or 3 of those games. But, we don't know. We're trying to just find a range here, and we'll talk about it more at the end. So to make up for the 5 straight losses that I just handed out, I'm going to go ahead and give them 3 wins out of the 4 mid teams that are left, the Falcons, the Steelers, the Seahawks, and the Cowboys. I think they could win 3 out of those 4. I think they could win 4 out of those 4, but we'll give them 3. And then I'm also going to give them the easy layups against the Browns and the Giants. I think the Vikings could lose 1 more game than what I have here, but they could win up to 2 or 3 more. So that gives us a range of about 6 to 10. That Vegas line is right in the middle again, so this is another bet that I am going to stay away from. And now we have the Bears, and to answer the question from the thumbnail, will the Bears be last in their division this year? A lot of people are really high on the Bears this year, but I'm sorry to burst your Bear bubble. The Bears are the Bears. I don't care if Caleb Williams takes a step forward. I don't care if Lions coach Ben Johnson schemes up some really good plays for them as the new coach. They're still the Bears, and they have one of the toughest strengths of schedule of any team in the NFL this year, and of any low winning team as well. So I do think they're going to make some progress. I do think they're going to take a step forward, but I don't think it's going to be as big of a step as people are expecting. Do you remember last year or 2 years ago when everybody was so excited and high on the Jets? And that did not pan out. So I think we have a similar situation with the Bears here. Our goal with a team like this is not to establish a floor because, for a team like this, the floor is 0. Our goal is going to be to find out what their ceiling is. How many games do we think they could possibly win, and kind of go from there. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and turn their 1 division win from last year into 3 division wins this year. Because like I said, we're looking for that ceiling. So in trying to keep with finding that ceiling, I'm going to give them wins against the easier matchups, the Raiders, the Saints, the Giants, and the Browns. The Cowboys and the Steelers are both mid teams, so I'm going to split it 50-50, 1 loss, 1 win. The Bears only beat 1 playoff team last year, so I'm going to give them losses to the Commanders, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Eagles, and the 49ers, who should be better than last year. They should be a playoff team this year or close to it. So I'm going to just give them losses to all of those teams. So I was trying to be generous. Remember, I gave them 3 division wins when they only had 1 last year. If the Bears play out of their mind, maybe they could win 1 more game, but that still puts their ceiling around 9. So on the other hand, they could lose 2 extra division games and the game against the Cowboys, who I think might be much better this year if Dak can stay healthy. So that puts their range around 6 to 9. The absolute ceiling in my mind is 9. I feel comfortable betting under on a Bears team who tends to disappoint because the Vegas line here is 8.5. I think their absolute ceiling is 9. I have their win total right here at 8. And so that's a line I'm comfortable betting under. Here are my best bets for this division. My 2 favorite best bets are plus money, and that is the Lions over 10.5 wins, as we discussed earlier. And then I'm also going to go ahead and pick the Lions as the division champions. I think that the Vikings or the Packers could steal this from the Lions because the Lions have an incredibly tough schedule. But, I'm going to go ahead and just roll with the Lions for the plus money. The Bears, I'm going to go ahead and take them under their 8.5 wins, like I mentioned earlier, minus 130, so I am paying some juice there. If you want to parlay that with maybe some of the other win totals that also have juice that we like from the other divisions, you can go ahead and do that. You cannot parlay win totals, though, from the same division, so just keep that in mind. And then I want to go ahead and also share some sprinkle bets. These are long shot odds, so I'm not necessarily encouraging anybody to go out and make these bets. I did place these bets already. I actually placed them before the draft because I wanted to get the best numbers. But now that I've placed them, I actually don't think these numbers are going to move much before the start of the season. I guess we'll find out. But here are my sprinkle bets. I'm going to go ahead. We already took the Bears under 8.5 wins. I'm also going to take them for under 6.5 wins for some plus money, plus 250. If they get out to a bad start, this could easily cash, or I could cash out early if I want to do that. And then over here on these other 2 bets, I'm going to go ahead and take the exact division standings. That is really tough to predict, and hence we are getting great odds. So I have the Lions winning in both, and then I have either the Packers or the Vikings in 2nd and 3rd place, and the Bears in last. This could easily scratch if J.J. McCarthy is terrible, or if the Packers take the division win from the Lions. Maybe the Bears even pass the Vikings. That is in the realm of possibility based on the win totals that we discussed. So these bets could easily scratch. And since I bet 2 different ones, I'll probably cash out of one partway through the season if I don't think that is likely to happen. Maybe recoup what I put in, or maybe a little bit more than what I put in, and then roll with the other one. So those are my bets for the NFC North. Those are the win totals. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you think I am completely wrong about something. If you're a Bears fan, or you just think the Bears are going to be amazing this year, feel free to sound off. We're all trying to help each other out, so just post in the comments what you like, what you don't like, and I'll try to respond to everybody. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you next video when we talk about the NFC East, which could be one of the toughest divisions in the NFC to figure out this year.